Good evening, good afternoon, and good day, everybody. What a wonderful time to be alive. I'm welcome to tonight's Masterclass. I'm delighted to have you here. Just if you are here, just put a hello in the comments. Hello, Anna. Hello, everybody who's joining us at the moment. Look forward to interacting with you and getting to know you over the next hour or so. So great to have you here. So I've got a lot of really valuable insights and information to share you on how to master anything with NLP. So I'm delighted to have you here. So I'm going to jump straight in and get started on all the content that I want to share with you today. So let's start by bringing up the slides here and talk about what we're going to be covering today. So today, my goal for you today is to give you an undeniable path of being able to master anything once you know NLP. So I want to give this as an introduction to NLP and what is possible based on my own experiences and my own life. So the other thing I want to share with you is if you stay to the end, I'm going to drop a link at the end of this session for a Zoom call. If you have any really burning questions that you want to ask me, so you can just jump on, we can have a bit of a group chat together. And also want to give you an irresistible opportunity to take a possible next step if you are interested in learning a little bit more about neuro-linguistics programming. Say that again, neuro-linguistic programming. So I hope you're excited as I am and hope you get some of the infectious enthusiasm that I have about neuro-linguistic programming. Okay, so what makes this different? This is a three-part training based on my own personal experience. So this is not just a bunch of theory. This is what I've found myself, my own discovery, my own path, my own journey. And I think you will relate to this as I share this with you. So let's just jump straight in. So that's what makes a difference. A little bit about me, just to begin. My name is Micheal Colhoun. A lot of people call me Michael when they come across me, first of all. So I always know the salespeople say, hello, is Michael there? So Micheal, it's a Gaelic name. It's the Gaelic for Michael. I've mastered a few things in my life and I want to share some of that with you. One of the things that I've started with is I was a university lecturer in the National University of Galway, National University of Ireland in Galway, many moons ago. And that was before I came across NLP. Then I came across NLP. I became a NLP Master Coach Trainer. Using the tools and techniques of NLP, I also became a freelance C# developer. This is the Microsoft platform for software development. And I'm now also a YouTube live streamer. So I want to show you some of my paths and my journeys over the last 20 odd years or so and give you some insights into not just the power of NLP, but how useful it is as a modeling system for getting really incredible results based on certain caveats. And that's the caveats I want to share with you today. So let's start by asking the question, what is NLP? So you might have come across this before. I'm going to try to give you a different definition today. So let's start with a basic one first of all. What does the letters NLP stand for? Neuro-linguistic programming. Now NLP is really about understanding the nervous system. So the neuro of NLP means nervous system. And that means your brain and all the nerves, all the parts of your nervous system, everything that's capable of sensing the outside world. So your sense of sight, your sense of hearing, smell, taste, touch, and all that sort of stuff. So there's 5 main senses. So all of that together, those senses and the nerves in your body, your nervous system, is what we refer to when we talk about neuro. Now, linguistic is the language of the nervous system. So what's the language of the nervous system? The language of the nervous system is your senses. It's the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory taste. And the language of those senses is pictures, sounds, feelings, smells, and tastes. So they're the components that effectively you have inside your mind as you process the information from this reality, this world that we live in. And programming then refers to the programs we run. That's the order and sequence of those pictures, the sounds, those feelings, the strategies we run in our mind that has us feel the way we feel, and therefore act and have that physiology that we need to have in order to behave a certain way to get the results we get. So if you want to get really consistent results, it's really important you understand the mind, or understanding this system, which is called NLP. I believe that NLP is really the user manual for the mind. And that's what makes it so fascinating, is that it literally is the missing manual that tells you how the mind works. And when you understand this and you start to bring all the components together that explains how the NLP works and how the mind works, you can start getting really magnificent results in your life and your business and your personal life and your career and your family and your clients and everything else. So this is a really powerful model. So what is it really though? So let me ask you a question first before we begin. And you might want to type this in chat. Type yes in chat if you've ever set a goal and you've achieved that goal in your whole life. If you set a goal, you went out there and you actually achieved that goal. So just type yes if that's ever happened to you, okay? Right, so good. Now what I want you to do now is I want you to type yes in chat if you've ever set a goal, but you didn't achieve that goal. Okay, so you set a goal, but you didn't achieve it. Okay, so again, type yes again if that's ever happened to you, that you've set a goal and you didn't achieve it. Okay, very good. So do you know did you notice something? Basically, it's the exact same thing for everybody. We've all set goals, yeah. We've all set goals that we've achieved, and we've all set goals we haven't achieved. So achieving results, achieving your goals isn't the problem. The problem is how do we achieve them consistently achieve our goals. And that's what NLP is really about. So NLP really, in my opinion, is a system of practical and actionable success strategies for getting consistent results. You might want to write that down. So if you just write that down, make sure you underline 3 words there: practical, actionable, and consistent. Because it's practice. NLP is based on practice. If you were to become an NLP practitioner, you're a person who practices the tools and techniques of NLP. And it's actionable. There are things you can actually do that get you tangible physical results. But when you understand the system that is NLP, it also allows you to get consistent results. In other words, you're not relying on luck or hope or somebody else helping you out. You're in control of your destiny, and you're creating a certain set of thought patterns in your mind that has you feel a certain way in here. And when you feel that way, then you have a physiology, or you have a stance or a posture that is incredibly empowering and powerful, which allows you to very easily behave in a certain way, which allows you to get the results you want. So this is really what we're talking about here. So I want you to think about that moment. Think about, are there areas in your life that you've got patterns where the same thing happens over and over again and you don't want it to happen anymore? If you do, NLP would be fantastic for being able to deal with that. Or maybe there's certain things there's certain patterns you get incredible results and you want to share with somebody else, but you don't know how to do that. Well, the tools and techniques of NLP will help you to model your own thinking. Those pictures you make inside your head and what you say to yourself and the feelings you have and how you activate all of that to create the feelings you get, the state you're in, to be in an uptime, powerful state, so you can start to get the behaviors you want to get the results that you actually want. So it's a very powerful model for creating excellent results effectively. So what I want to share with you today is that this is a 3-part training. There's 3 different segments I want to talk about today. And after doing this for 17 years, I have to say I don't have all the answers. And later on, I'm going to share with you something based on my mission. And I want you to understand this, that after doing this for 17 years, I'm not claiming that I'm an expert. I'm not saying that I know everything. But I know enough to get consistent results in certain areas because I've built it on a particular approach. And that's the approach I'm going to share with you today. And I've done lots of things right, and I've had some great successes in my life. But I've also had a lot of things that went wrong. I had failures in my life as well. And I've learned more from the failures. And in fact, I've had more failures than successes. And I think most successful people will say that to you. So this isn't about saying, I know the way, I know all the answers. What I'm here to share with you is that anybody can learn this and anybody can get incredible results once you have a certain assumptions taken care of and you're actually focused on those assumptions, those discoveries and those secrets. So that's what I want to share with you today. So this is based on my own experience and how I've used NLP in my life and how you can do the same. Okay, so there's 3 things I discovered that I want to share with you. And these are important as a pre-frame to learning more about neuro-linguistic programming. And the first one is, it's easier than you think. Now, here's the thing. I heard a great a quote from a friend of mine last week, a business guy. And he said to me, business isn't particularly hard, but people make it very complex. They make it very complicated. So if we can understand people, we can uncomplicate the mess and turn that into an easy to follow process. That's what NLP, it's an easy to follow process that gives you consistent results. So it's easy. That's not how you spell easier, by the way. I'm going to change it. Okay, I'm going to change that because that's just going to annoy me if I don't sort that out. So that's not how you spell easier. So ease, there's no L in easier. Yes, I-E-R. That is much better. If you notice any typos, type them in chat and I will correct them. So here we go. So that's better. It's easier than you think, first of all. That's the first thing that I realized after 17 years of teaching NLP and sharing NLP with people. The second thing is to master anything with NLP, you need a repeatable system. So can you think of a system, a repeatable system that you could use to master anything? Well, you probably can because I just told you about it. NLP is a repeatable system. It is an approach that gets the same results every time you do it. It's called a strategy. So that's great. And that's the second thing that I've really simplified. It's easier than you think. You need a repeatable system. And the third thing is that anybody can learn this. You don't have to be super intelligent or super smart or have tons of experience. You can start by saying, what do you want to master in your world, and focus on that first. And that's really what we want to do. So we want to start by finding how to simplify all of this and make it approachable and practical and actionable so you can get consistent results. So now this particular video, this webcast today, is part of a series we're doing. So if you haven't watched the previous videos in this series is called the Simple Success Strategy, and it's a 5-part series, and this is number 3. The first one we did, it's an acronym, it's SIMPLE. The first one, simple, S of the simple acronym stands for self-awareness. So we did a web class a couple of weeks ago on self-awareness. So do check that out on the channel. In fact, while you're here, hit like on the video here, because that helps other people discover this content. And I believe this is great content. I think everybody should know about this. So hit like, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel. So the first one we did was on self-awareness. That was a really great one. I really enjoyed that. It was a new one I hadn't done before, and it was literally off the hoof. Basically took out the clip chart and I gave you some new insights of stuff I hadn't really thought about before that I realized as I was preparing for that particular one. The second one we did was on identity, on finding your identity and what happens when people get lost in terms of their values and beliefs about who they think they are, whether it's come from their environment or their school of people or whatever else. So that was a really great one. This is the third one, how to master anything with NLP. So that's SIM. We've got the next one will be based on P. I'm not going to tell you what it is next, but if you subscribe, you'll find out. The next one after that is L, and the final one is E. So L and E we're going to do together because E is actually a simple but powerful one. So we've got 2 more in this series. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've hit the like button. I would really appreciate that as we go into this 3-part training today on how to master anything with NLP. Okay, let's move on. So what I want to do is I first want to put in a bit of a disclaimer here, because what I'm saying is these results I'm going to share with you are not typical, because at the end of the day, I can show you the system, I can show you the exact process, I can show you the way, but I can't walk it for you. It does take one unique thing, which is you, to actually apply these practical and actionable steps in order to start to master something with NLP. And that's what I want to share with you, because at the end of the day, what I'm going to share with you is going to give you an impression that incredible things are possible. And the fact is they are, but you also have to recognize where you are right now and what you're trying to achieve, where you are now, what you're trying to get to, and what's missing, what resources you need, what skills you need, what training you need, what support you need to get you from where you are to where you want to be. So let's go into it. So the 3 parts of this training, let's start with the first one. So these 3, they're all begin with the letter M, okay? And the first M is about mission, about understanding what's the mission you're on, which is different from a goal. Because like we know, everybody can set goals and you can achieve goals and not achieve goals. And when you understand the leverage legacy plan that I will show you, when you understand this approach, then it's not just a goal, it's a direction. It sets up a whole direction in terms of your motivation and your values and your beliefs. That's a much more powerful than just having a goal. So I'm going to share with you some certain missions that I took on myself, and I'm going to share my stories around those so you can understand what I'm talking about from this perspective. So we need to understand mission. I'm going to go through that with you. We also need to understand modeling, and I don't mean modeling like this. What I mean is modeling other people's success strategies, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And the third part, which is the really important bit, and I think this is the bit that catches people, is understanding the 5 stages of mastery. So I'm going to go through all of these in this training to this web class today. Okay. So type yes if you're enjoying the content so far. If you've got any questions, I won't be able to check the questions while I'm going to the content, but I will go back. If there's any questions you put here, I can see it on the screen here. I can scroll back and bring them up on the screen and answer any questions you have, which we can do later on. Or if you want to jump on a call with me at the end of this session, then I'm going to drop a Zoom link at the end of this class, and if you got any burning questions, happy to answer those questions for you as well. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of background about some of the missions and goals that I've set myself over the last 20 years, and I'm going to just give you 1 or 2 simple examples in order to give you an impression of what's involved in having a mission and how you can then model a success strategy, and then how you can develop a sense of mastery. So back in 2005, I first came across NLP, and I didn't know anything about NLP before that. And what happened, I was a bit of an emotional wreck, to be quite honest. I had social anxiety. Just hang on a sec, guys. I just need to change the volume because there's echo coming up here. Sorry about this. I just want to turn this down a little bit because I'm getting a lot of echoing in my ear. That's a bit better. So So let's start again. So let me tell you about transforming people. When I first came across NLP back in 2005, it changed my life. I had a crippling social anxiety and just general anxiety, and it was an emotional roller coaster. And while I did very well academically in school, I got first class honours in physics and went off to become work in the university as a lecturer in my early days. I never felt successful because I was always comparing myself to other people, and I always had this kind of weight on my shoulder that I just wasn't good enough. I really didn't believe in myself, and I felt that the whole weight of the world was on my shoulders. And as a result of spending 4 days doing an NLP certification training, I felt this weight being lifted off my shoulders, and my anxiety disappeared. In fact, I had asthma back then as well, and the asthma disappeared. Now, I didn't realize that for about 6 months because I just lost my inhaler one day and I never replaced it, and I haven't used one since. But this was a result of having a total fundamental reframe of my experience of life, of who I was, and how I created so many problems for myself out of situations that probably weren't problems at all because of the way I saw the world. And the models of NLP gave me such an empowering perspective on life and gave me such confidence and such a sense of self-esteem that I said, this is something that everybody should learn about. And I made a decision then to learn everything I could about NLP, personal development, yoga, meditation, hypnosis, all sorts of different things like that. And I went on this journey for about 5 years, learning everything I could about personal development, and it literally changed everything about my life. But what I realized very early in this journey, that I wanted to transform the world. I wanted to make the world a better place. And that's why I called our business, you can see it there, Transforming People Academy, because I believe that we had the tools and techniques with NLP and timeline therapy and hypnosis and yoga and meditation to literally help anybody to transform their lives. And so that became part of my journey. But I was also a software developer. I'd worked in the university, and then during the dot-com boom, I got into setting up a company with a friend of mine, and we did well. We did a lot of flying over to America during the dot-com boom. I had a lot of fun back then. But as a developer, I realized that I was setting my standards too low. So I decided to then move into financial banking. And this was, I'll be quite honest, it was a little bit of an ego-based decision, because at the time, working in the university and then working as a software developer, I wasn't actually getting paid very much. I think I was getting paid about 20,000 a year. That was euro, which is about 16,000 pounds, very early in my career. And I met somebody who was NLP trained, who was a freelance developer. And I decided to model them. So the second stage I talked about is modeling. And what I did is I wanted to really understand how they did what they did. They were a software developer who were getting very well paid for what they're doing, and I wasn't. And I was saying, okay, what is different? What is the difference between what he's doing and what I'm doing? And I went on that journey, and that journey brought me to places like the London Stock Exchange, to Chicago Mercantile Exchange, to Deutsche Bank, to insurance companies, pharma companies, and lots of corporate companies over my career. And it was a very seasonal career. So I'd do that for maybe 6, 9, 12 months of the year. And then I'd spend maybe 3, 6 months working in coaching or teaching people NLP and stuff like that. So I had this kind of dual career where I was working 2 different areas, corporate, IT, and also working in personal development. So what I realized that I had figured out the secret to mastering a particular skill set. And what I realized, there's 3 steps to it. Those 3 steps we talked about. The first one is about mission, about understanding the mission. Now, the 2 missions that I set up for myself, the first one was to develop a personal development organization that could transform the world through transforming people. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that later on. And the way I did that is I wanted to focus on making a difference that was really big. It was big for me, challenging for me. Because here's the thing. If you set a goal and the goal isn't very big, it's like if you know you can achieve it, then it's probably not going to be very exciting for you, is it? So think about that. It's like if you set a goal of getting up at 8:30 tomorrow morning, but you always get up around 8, 8:30, it's not a particular motivating goal because it's not challenging, which means when you achieve it, it's like, well, so what? But if you set something that feels challenging for you, almost impossible, but you can see a path, and we'll talk about that in a moment, we can see the path and you can model that path, then that gives you a massive sense of satisfaction, fulfillment as you follow that path, you go down that road. So that was one of the things I did. And I spent a long time with this guy. I literally spent every day with him for about 3 years. I was working alongside him, and then he moved into the same neighborhood as me. And what I was doing is I was modeling and understanding his thinking, his mindset, and how he did what he did. Not in terms of why he did it, but the process, the order and sequence of how he think about things, what beliefs he had, what motivated him, and what inspired him. So I could take on those beliefs as well. So I could step into the role of becoming a well-paid freelance contractor. And that's where I went over to London in the beginning. And I literally followed the strategy that I learned from him and became a freelance contractor. Now, the interesting thing is, there was no different in skills. In the west of Ireland, I was getting paid about £20,000 working in the university, and then as becoming a software developer in a small company. When I worked in the London Stock Exchange, getting about 10 grand a month, there was no different in the skill set I was using. What was different was the value I put on myself and the process that I went through to raise my value, raise my self-esteem, and to act with confidence and certainty about what I was doing. And all of this came by removing the blocks that I had around my own image of myself. And that's what allowed me to be able to go into these interviews and do very well in these interviews, and to carry myself in business, in meetings, and be able to communicate well and ask really good questions and impress people, and then increase my rate every time until I was making over 6 figures in a year. So what is the secret to your mission? Now, here's the thing. It's really simple. None of this is complicated. Basically, I've got a 4-step, 5-step process here. So you might want to write these down. The first one is to have an outcome, to have a really clear outcome of what you want to achieve. And I'll give you an example of each of these from both missions I had. In case of the freelance software developer, I had an outcome of making £100,000 in a single year. That was my goal. That was my outcome. Easy to measure, easy to see. I know what I got there. Check your bank account, see how much you made in last year. If it's over 6 figures, you made it. So it's a very simple outcome to measure. For transforming people, it wasn't quite as simple. But my outcome was this. I wanted to be classified as one of the best NLP trainers in the world. And the way I did that is that I wanted the people who did our NLP Foundations program, our basic program, that people would think they're practitioners. The people who did our Practitioner Certification Training, the people thought they're Master Practitioners. And the people who did our Master Practitioner Training, people thought they're gods. They could change the world. That was the standard I set for myself. And the way I would know that is that I would get comments or feedback from other people who would mistake people at one level at a much higher level than they thought. And my first training, the very first training I did, that was the feedback I got. Our students became certified practitioners back in 2005. And I got feedback very quickly from their area and their peers and colleagues that they thought they were master pracs and that they were so much more advanced than anybody else in that field. Now, the way I did that was I needed to have a very clear mission of what I need to achieve. And then I had to do certain things to make that happen. So I had an outcome for both cases. The second thing is take action. Now, there's 4 types of action that people can take. Technically, there's 5. So the 4 types. There's the right action, there's the wrong action, there's inaction, and there's right action, wrong action, inaction, and distraction, right? Which is basically going off on a tangent. So it's not just about being busy, it's about taking action that brings you closer to your goal. So if you understand your mission, you have a measurement set down, then everything you do, you calibrate that against the outcome that you're looking for. And if you do that, then you know it's the right action because it's bringing you closer to your outcome you're actually working on. Now, the next thing you need, and this is super important, we'll come back to this later on as well, is you need a feedback system. Now, the feedback system is something that we focus on in the training in the NLP Practitioner and the Foundation Program, which is called sensory acuity. It's ability to have really great observation skills about really noticing the nuances of what's happening in someone's thinking as they're speaking to you. So you don't know what's going on inside their head, but you know the process that's going on inside their head. And we teach you all of that in our foundations program and in our practitioner certification program, because that means that when you're taking action to achieve your goal, and you do something and you're working with people, you can calibrate whether you're getting the response you expect. You've got a feedback system by actually getting feedback from people's body language, from their tone of voice, from their gestures, from their eye patterns, from how they actually interact with you and how they interact with other people. If you're actually getting on track, if you're getting the right feedback that you're actually doing the right thing. So you need a feedback system. And that's really important. And that's true of any self-improvement process. You need some way of getting feedback. The next thing you need is you need to be flexible. There has to be more than one way to get your outcome. If you actually have one way to get your outcome and that opportunity disappears for some reason, something happens and that way is cut off from you, then what are you going to do? If you have no other way, then you're going to give up on your goal. So there must be multiple ways of achieving that outcome. And if you're flexible to that way, in that perspective, that means you've always got choices of trying a different way. It's called the law of requisite variety, where you can be as flexible as you need to in order to get motion, get action, get progress in what you're actually doing. And the last thing you need, which is a really important one, is have an attitude of excellence. Now, what this means is that even though you might not be at that standard of mastery yet, you want to start the journey today as if you're already there. Now, here's a question for you. This is a very important one. So imagine you have a goal to become, I don't know, a teacher or an entrepreneur or a business person or a coach or something like that. What you want to do is, I want you to imagine for a moment that you're already there. So let's go out to 18 months, 2 years' time. So in 18 months or 2 years' time, where are you at? So I want you to imagine that in 18 months to 2 years' time, you're already there, you have success, you've reached that point, and you're successful, and you feel amazing. And then from that point in the future, look back on now and ask yourself, what do you need to not do to fail? Sounds like a weird question. And this doesn't sound like a positive question. But if you achieve success, ask yourself, what would you have needed to have done to not get that success? And write that down, right? Maybe procrastination, maybe not feeling very energized, not having a physiology of excellence, maybe not taking the right action or distracting yourself. And when you've written down the answers to that question, then go back and ask yourself, well, what did you have to do to achieve that success? Who did you have to become? Who did you have to step up to becoming? What is the version of you that maybe you haven't realized yet, that if you did realize you stepped up to become that version of you, you would definitely be successful in whatever you want to do? And that's what I mean by an attitude of excellence, is actually recognize what are the excuses you're going to give yourself, right? What are the reasons you're going to yourself like, oh, I can't do this because I don't have confidence, I don't have self-esteem, I don't know how, I don't have the skills. Instead, well, how do you need to act instead to adopt that attitude of excellence and go find the answers? Whether it means learning something or getting support or becoming more resourceful or getting fit and getting strong and getting healthy and eating well and getting exercise, to do all the things you need to do to feel really great every single day as you walk on that path on the journey to your mission. So in terms of, let me tell you what I did for the transforming people journey that I went on. When I went and did my trainer's training to become a trainer of NLP, I didn't just do the training, say, okay, I'm a trainer now, I can start thinking about trainings. I committed to running my first NLP Practitioner Certification Training 4 weeks after I finished my trainer's training. And I had already booked 5 or 6 people on my training before I even started my trainer's training. So was I motivated? Hell yes, I was really motivated, because if I couldn't deliver a certified training back in 2005 to these 5 or 6 people who already paid, I was going to have to give money back, and I'd already paid the money. I'd already spent the money to do the trainer's training. So I was highly motivated to make sure that I got certified. But beyond that, between the time that I started my NLP journey and the time I became a certified trainer, I spent a lot of time with the trainer in the training room, helping him to run his trainings as a coaching assistant. I think I did something like 16 different trainings over 2 years. This is out of my own pocket, paid for flights and hotel rooms to fly over to London and spend time at the back of the room coaching people and helping people free of charge after getting qualified. And I did this because I wanted to be the best trainer I could be. So I wanted to be around someone who's a really great trainer, and want to develop the attitude of excellence by modeling how they did what they did. I remember writing down the times they had for the exercises and how long it took them to do the exercise. I remember noticing the different nuances of how they use the stage and how they use their voice tonality and use their hands when they're speaking. So I got so much more than just the NLP trainers training, because I'd already modeled so much of what I could see on the outside as a coaching assistant. So I basically he became my mentor, and I learned as much as I could from him before I even did the trainer's training. So then when I did the trainer's training, I came back and ran my own training, and I have people who've done that training who said it was the best personal development training they'd ever done in their life, then and since. And that was like nearly 20 years ago now. And since then, we've just raised the bar. So that was one of the things I did. I got very focused on my mission, and I set an attitude of an excellence. I did the exact same thing in terms of becoming a freelance contractor as a C-sharp contractor working for banks in the banking system like London Stock Exchange, place like that. I literally found a mentor who was already an expert. And this is one of the things that's pretty important. You have to find someone who already is an expert. It's no good modeling somebody who's okay at something. You want to find someone who's at a high level of expertise so you can learn from them. You get the correct model, a good model. You don't want to learn a bad model from somebody. And then as you do that, what you want to do is you want to ask questions about their thought processes, the order of their thought process, what pictures they make in their head, what they say to themselves in the morning, what they say to themselves in the evening, what they say to themselves when they're getting motivated, what do they say to themselves when they're not motivated. All of these things are part of the model of what you learn about when you learn NLP. So that I could behave like these people who were experts before I was an expert myself. Okay, so that is the mission, is really having a very clear outcome and acting as if you're already on the path and you're stepping up to become the best version of yourself. So that's secret number one. Okay, secret number two. Are you ready for secret number two? If you are ready for secret number two, let me know in the chat. Okay, secret number two, what is that? It's about modeling. Now, we're just moving into this. In both of these cases here, if you want to model excellence, you have to start with finding a model of excellence in the first place. In terms of NLP trainer that I modeled, and his trainer, Tad James, when I first came across Tad James, and to this day, I still believe that Tad James is one of the best NLP trainers that has ever walked on this planet. Probably far more, I'm not going to make comparisons, but for me, I believe he's the best trainer in the world, or was the best trainer in the world. Unfortunately, he's left us now. He's no longer with us. And he has a true model of excellence, not just in terms of his knowledge of NLP, but his ability to be able to transfer that knowledge to other people. So you have to start with a model of excellence. The second was immersion. Remember I said to you I spent so much time with my mentors to learn freelancing or NLP. I spent time with them and I asked them lots and lots and lots of questions. I was around them. I was in their environment. I was in that lifestyle. I was in that space with them. Because what is it that Jim Rohn used to say? He would say that you're the average of the 5 people around you. So if you actually want to achieve a level of excellence, hang around with people who are excellent and it just rubs off on you. And I really believe that to be true. So once you immerse yourself in that model of excellence around those people who are excellent, the next thing you want to do is you want to extract the model. And that comes from the tools and techniques of NLP called strategies, where you elicit the strategies people have for getting success inside their mind, how they motivate themselves, what beliefs they have, what attitudes they have, what's important to them, how they behave, what are good behaviors, what are bad behaviors, and then we want to eliminate the bad behaviors, of course, and focus on the good behaviors. And then we want sensory-based feedback. We want to know we're making real progress. That feedback word again, we need to know that when we do something, that we have a way of measuring, are we making progress? Now, this is important. I'm going to give you an example. This is a personal example that I want to share with you that you might relate to. And the challenge is this. When I do videos on YouTube, And I do live videos every Friday. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please do. I do videos not every Friday, but most Fridays. If I'm away and traveling, I don't. Every Friday video. And if something goes wrong in that video, if there's 1 minute in that 60-minute video that just didn't work out the way I had planned, I will probably come off that live stream feeling terrible, feeling down in the slumps, says, oh my God, that was a terrible, terrible video. It went really badly wrong. And even with 20 years experience, I still have to catch myself from going into that place. So I have a system, it's called sensory-based feedback. What I do is when I finish a live stream, I take a break, I forget about it. The next day I sit down, I get a notebook and a pen, and I watch back my live streams, my Friday live streams, and I take notes on what I did that was good, and I take notes of what mistakes that I need to improve next time. And what I find every single time, that my opinion of my live stream is always much lower than my sensory-based feedback. When I look at the votes for how I did, I look back and say, that was actually a really good stream. There was some really good content. I really enjoyed it. I was excited. I was motivated. And I think I shared some really great gems there today. But in the moment when I finish, I focus on the negative things, and I still have to catch myself. So now I don't judge it. What I do is I go back, I get sensory-based feedback. Am I making progress? Was this better than last week's? Was that one better than the previous week's? And every time I try to raise the bar. I try to aim higher, which is my motto. So sensory-based feedback is not actually taking feedback from people's emotions and dramas, but instead focusing on, okay, yes, maybe something went wrong, but what went right? Measure out, get some feedback. And that's a wonderful way of building that model, getting closer and closer to model of excellence. And then what you do is you rinse and repeat. You go back and you repeat that over and over again. And that's how you create excellence, is taking sensory-based feedback, actual feedback you can measure, as opposed to having an emotional reaction to you think you're doing badly when actually you probably did much better than you thought. Okay, so that's the second one. Now the third secret, the third and most important one, is this one. I love this model. This is actually from one of our advanced trainings, and it's really for people who are on the journey and stumble. And they hit what I call Shakti Pad. This is a Kundalini Yoga term. I want to share with you an important model from Kundalini Yoga. This is a process called the five stages of mastery that has been taught for thousands of years in the traditions of Kundalini Yoga. And there's a more modern version of it that I'm going to share with you as well. And the idea is that people have a certain level of competency, and their competency increases over time. As they get better at something, funny enough, they get better at it. So each of these color blocks represents your increasing levels of competency from left to right. The first one is called the novice. So someone's beginning in a journey. Let's say someone doesn't know anything about NLP and they learn something from a book. Well, they're a novice. They're just learning. Maybe they do an introductory course or foundation course. At that stage, they're just a novice. They're just learning the basics. Okay, and what happens is when you learn the basics, you get a certain amount of knowledge. You feel good because you know stuff you didn't know before, and that's great. And then comes the next stage. Now, the next stage is about the apprentice. This is where you've gone beyond sort of like the fun days. Everything's just exciting and new and wow and wonderful. And now you're actually trying to refine the techniques. You're still a little bit rough with the techniques, and you need to practice. And as you start to practice, then you start to get better. Now, here's the interesting thing. When you're at the apprentice stage, you can sometimes get an awful kick in the teeth. And this is something I see happening with coaches all over the world. When people get certified as a coach or a therapist, they start their journey, and they're starting the apprenticeship journey when they actually finish their training. And then they go out to the world and they find that maybe things weren't as easy as they thought, and they start to lose a little bit of confidence in themselves. They lose a little bit of self-esteem. Maybe they set up a business and the business fails or doesn't go well, or they try to do something and expect a whole pile of people to turn up and listen to them, and nobody turns up. They just get crickets. And then they have to learn other skills and other things to go from being apprentice to the next stage, which is going into the struggle. Now, the struggle is the hard part. This is where you're no longer the apprentice, but you're still not an expert yet. And you have to figure out what else you have to overcome to get there. This is called the hero's journey. It's based on the work of Carl Jung. And when people go through the struggle, this is the point where most people give up. This is when they fail in business, or they fail in relationships, or they doubt themselves and they go off on a different path. And quite often what happens is they come back to that path later on and says, why did I give up? I was almost there. All I need to do is one more thing. And then I actually got the success I was looking for. And this is when they become the craftsman. So as the craftsman, let me put this a little bigger because the text is a bit small. So as the craftsman, they start to refine their craft. And now they're getting really good at what they're doing, and they start to get success. They start to get success that is manageable and predictable. And it really helps them to move forward and start to build self-esteem and confidence, and they start to get really, really good at what they do. And eventually they get to the point where they actually get to the point of mastery. They become the master of their skill. Now, so there's 5 stages, and these segments, the block sizes, are roughly what I would say good estimates of how long it takes to go through each stage. The first stage, the novice, is very short. The apprentice is very short. The struggle is a little bit longer, maybe as long as the novice and apprentice. And then you become the craftsman. That's when you're getting real results. You're getting testimonials. You're getting proof that you're doing good work. You're starting to grow. You're starting to do really well. And then you refine that over years and you become the master. Now, what's really interesting is that there's another model that comes from modern psychology that overlaps directly on top of this. This is amazing. You've got to love this, right? So when you look at this and you look at this model over the top, it fits perfectly. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And if you haven't come across the Dunning-Kruger effect before, you're going to love this. So here's the Dunning-Kruger effect. Just to take away the names, just look at those 3, the first 3, the novice, the apprentice, the struggle. Okay? So remember those 3, novice, the apprentice, and struggle. When I overlay on top of that the Dunning-Kruger effect, we get a chart like this. We've got confidence on the y-axis. In other words, how much confidence you have is marked by this chart, by how high in that chart the line hits. And we'll draw the line now. So there's confidence on the left, and on the side, and competence along the bottom. And what happens is when people start a journey, their confidence gets really high at the very start of the journey, when they're literally just the novice and becoming the apprentice. And then after they go through the apprentice stage, they go into the struggle stage. And when they go into the struggle stage, their confidence gets shattered and they fall right down into that valley, that curve there down here. If you can see the curve at the very bottom here. And that curve is called the Valley of Despair. And this is when people give up. This is when people's self-esteem gets really affected, when their confidence gets really affected, and they start to doubt themselves and they give up. And the other side of it is people who actually climb to the top of what I call Mount Stupid. Now, I didn't come up with these names. Mount Stupid is when somebody thinks they know everything. Did you ever meet a know-it-all? Someone who knows everything but they know nothing. Well, this is someone who was a novice, became the apprentice, and then they think they know everything, but they haven't got any experience yet. They haven't gone out to the world. They haven't got the knocks and shakes of the world to say, hey, hold on a second, that's not the way it works, and they've still got more to learn. So between that point of being the apprentice and the struggle, this is when most people give up. But when people push through and they focus and they build on their mission, they focus on what's the mission they want to focus on and how do they master it, how do they get feedback from the world, sensory-based feedback, not emotional feedback, not oh my God, but actually saying, am I getting better? Am I getting better? What's the feedback I'm getting? Then what happens? We actually go along this curve where we get through the valley of despair and we actually become to master our craft, and eventually we become the masters of what we do. And that takes time and patience. And I think what we need more than anything in this period is we need support. And we need people to stand by us to help us to get through that valley of despair. Because this is the point where people give up and go off on a different path, or they just push through, they break through, and they start to create the success in their life. Okay? So what are they again? Let's just remind ourselves of the 3 steps to this. There's the mission, which is understanding what is the goal that you want, that you can measure. For me, in the contracting space, it was making 100 grand in 1 year. That was the goal I had. In terms of transforming people, the goal I had was to get comments from people that gave me feedback that my students were a much higher standard than people expected for that level of qualification. So that was the mission that I set for myself. Then the modeling was about hanging out with people who are true experts at what they do and being around those people and then asking them questions, NLP based questions, to understand how do they do what they do. Not why, but how do they do? What's the process that affects their state and their behavior so they can get the results they're looking for? And then the last part is understanding the 5 stages of mastery, that you're probably not going to get there straight away. And as you push through and you get support, you can get there. It can make a difference, and it can bring you to where you actually need to. So that is kind of the tip of the iceberg for what we're talking about. So what I want to do is I want to share you the mission, the true mission of transforming people, because this is something for me, it's actually something that's very personal for me. And I want to share this with you because it'll give you an idea of where I am right now and what I'm trying to achieve with the journey that I'm on at the moment with transforming people, and how we've changed the way we present and way we connect with people. And this is my mission. I wrote this recently and I said, I just want to share with you. So I'm making myself a little bit vulnerable here. I hope you don't mind. So I'll just put up full screen so you can see it a bit better. I have a dream, a mission to build something bigger than me. I'm not an expert, but I do have some valuable insights, stories, and ideas. And maybe you do too. In fact, despite this, I don't really know how to get there or what there really looks like. But I know that it's important, I know it's bigger than just me, and I can't do this on my own. If you like the direction I'm going in, and you want to join me on this journey, then I'd love you to be part of this, and together we can get there faster and have fun along the way. So I'm not claiming to be the expert, I'm not claiming to be the master, but I've mastered certain things, and I'd love to share with you how I got there so I can help you get there a little bit quicker as well, and we can have some fun along the way as well. So I want to ask you something. Do you feel that the last half hour, 40 minutes or so was time well spent? Do you think you felt you learned something from it at this point? And if you did, I want to just let you know that this is just a taste of what you can learn within our academy. And I want to share with you now a possible next step if you are interested in learning a little bit more about neurolinguistic programming and how we share neurolinguistic programming with people in the world. First of all, I want to tell you about our NLP Practitioner Certification Training. Our next one is in September. The NLP Practitioner Certification Training, if you are looking to get certified as a practitioner and really just get an intense amount of learning and transformation very quickly, we're offering an NLP practitioner 4-day certification training in September. Single payment is $1,997, which saves you $779 from the full price. Or if you want to do a payment plan option, it's $997 or plus 3 payments of $593. So if you go for the single payment, you get an extra £779 off. That's $1,997. However, that's not what I want to share with you today. I want to share with you some people who've done this program before. They've done the full practitioner certification training. This is Callum. Callum actually came to me. He's an entrepreneur or wannabe entrepreneur. And when he came to us, first of all, he was actually cleaning dishes in a burger joint in Belfast. He was making £300 a month and he was broke. And he came to me and he told me he heard my story about crippling social anxiety. He was the same. And from working with me, he did his NLP Practitioner Certification Training, and I mentored him around business and actually getting started with his business. And now he runs a 6-figure business. He actually helps entrepreneurs in actually becoming visible on Instagram. And he's got a business called Rising Influence, which is a brilliant name. And I'm really proud of him. And he talks about the fact that what happened to him is that it was the mindset. He said, I've been looking back on the progress I've made over the few months since I training. So I thought I'd give you a bit of an update. And you know, I used to have crippling social anxiety, and now that I've upgraded my mindset, I feel like a new person. Before the training, I used to work in a burger place in Belfast, which I hated, and now just 10 months after that, I'm reaching out to millionaire influencers on social media and signing them up as my clients. Some of his clients included Bob Proctor, for example, and he's one of the people who Bob Proctor actually paid him. A lot of people pay Bob Proctor. He used to pay, he's gone now, God bless him. They used to pay him a lot of money to actually get these testimonials. He got a testimonial by actually providing great service to Bob Proctor. And he's worked with many, many other famous celebrities as well. And that was all from upgrading his mindset. Upgrading my mindset is what made all the difference to me. Thank you. And since then, he's just totally taken off. He's doing really well. Another one of our students, Vidette, she did her Master Practitioner Certification Training. She basically was stuck working for herself, and she had a limiting belief that she couldn't work in corporate. We helped change that belief, that one belief. And she went from earning a decent wage to making over 100 grand a year. And in this quote here, she said, you were spot on about my limiting beliefs about money, and my boss just gave me a Mercedes. It's amazing how valuable investing myself has turned out to be. Is Karen Ritchie, who now runs her own therapy business. Janet Quigley is the same. She's an amazing lady. When she came to, she was just starting the personal development journey. She has amazing results up in Derry. Some of the other people who have said things like life-changing, unreal experience, discovered so many things about themselves. The training's like nothing I've ever experienced. This is Vinty Firth. He said, this hands down has to be one of the best trainings I've ever done. The level of care you receive, the quality, depth of knowledge and details are second to none. I'll let you read that in your own time if you want to go through it. You can look back and freeze frame that. More ones from Menike. Menike is an amazing lady. She's gone changing the world. She's a public speaker now and really has make an impact on so many people. Colette talked about it as the best training she's ever experienced. Christine said, what an amazing week. She said she learned more in what is it, a couple of days than she learned in 6 months of personal development training with other people. Ryan said, the most transformational experience of my life. So if you are interested in taking that first step with us, click on the link that's in that group there, and you can actually sign up. All I can say is thank you very much for joining us tonight. I hope you actually got value from this training. I would like to wish you all a wonderful week and hope to see you all next week and next Friday on our public broadcast. In the meantime, have a wonderful week and take care, and we'll speak to you all soon. Take care and bye for now.